people aren't paying attention to what happened in the past 4 years. So we now have people like Michael Saylor, who is 1 billionaire. He owns 500,000 coins. There's 21 million Bitcoin. There's only enough Bitcoin in history for 40 other billionaires to do what Michael Saylor's done and buy 500,000 coins. Now, Michael Saylor actually understands Bitcoin. He says it every interview. I'm buying Bitcoin. I'm holding it for 100 years. This is pristine Manhattan real estate that you do not buy and sell. You simply buy it, you leverage against it, and you pass that down into future generations because this is generational wealth. Everybody is coming to cyberspace. So with that framing, this is where people haven't run the numbers. One person has just bought 500,000 coins. Only 40 entities can do that in the entire world. There's 150 plus nation states. There's 3,000 other billionaires like Michael Saylor. There's 58,000 public companies. There's 330 million businesses. You don't think all of them want to do what Michael Saylor's done and buy 500,000 coins? I think they are going to do what Michael Saylor's done. And I just think it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. And things get really wonky because my base case is that in 15 years' time, 19 million coins are probably going to be in the hands. Let me retract that a little bit. But what I will say is that I don't know the number, but there might only be 1 or 2 million coins available for the other 99.99% of the world to buy and trade and use as a medium of exchange. Now, what I mean is I think Bitcoin's going to become this strategic reserve asset, like the largest nation state in the world just announced it will be in America, the global reserve currency holder. And when something is a global strategic reserve asset for a nation state or a treasury of a corporation, you don't sell the thing. You buy the thing and you hold it for 100 years. So I don't think it's an extrapolation to say just what if another 40 billionaires figure it out. Like, billionaires are smart. I'm actually going to do the maths for you guys live during this interview. There's 3,000 billionaires. Only 40 of them can do what Michael Saylor's done. Let's run the maths and see what percentage of the smartest and most successful business minds in the entire world could do what Michael Saylor's done. 0.0133%. Do you guys really think, what is that? Is that 1.3% of the world's billionaires will figure it out and be smart enough to figure out what Michael Saylor's done? The smartest, richest, most successful people in the world. Again, money is simply a leaderboard. Yes, some people get lucky. Some people get lucky and they get rich. But I think the majority of people who are rich, they get there because they're smart, because they're hustlers, because they're motivated, because they figure things out, because they switch on to new trends, because they're forward thinking. Bitcoin is the most forward thinking thing in the world today. And I just think it's wild that people just aren't running the numbers. Do we really think 1% of the world's billionaires won't figure it out? I believe that's actually 0.1% of the world's billionaires won't figure it out and want to buy more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. And this is just why I'm incredibly bullish. This is what I think everybody's missing. People just don't understand true scarcity. They don't understand 1 billionaire in the past 4 years just bought 500,000 coins. Only 40 other people can do that in the entire world. Nation states, public corporations, or individuals. And when we get there, it's like, what is the price of 1 Bitcoin when you've got 8 billion people fighting over 1 million coins? And this is just going to continue getting even more crazy, and people are going to call it centralized. But in 20 or 30 years' time, the globe's, the entire GDP of the world might be operating off 100,000 coins. What is 1 coin worth if you've got 800,000 people fighting over 100,000 coins? What is 1 Bitcoin worth? It's not hundreds of thousands. It's not millions. It's not tens of millions. It's not even hundreds of millions. 1 Bitcoin is going to be worth billions of dollars in purchasing power today. People hear that, they think I'm crazy, but I just encourage you guys, really extrapolate this thing out. Like, what happens when the other billionaires realize the only way to be richer than Michael Saylor is to buy more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor? What happens when they realize that there's 21 million coins? There's only 2.5 million coins on exchanges today. That's enough Bitcoin for 5 billionaires to come in and buy more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. It's, this is so inevitable. It's going to happen. I've been screaming it from the rooftops for the past 4 years. Something changed in 2020. We're in a new era of Bitcoin's life. And when the number of Bitcoin on exchanges hits zero by somewhere around 2028, 2029, or 2030, we're going to find out the real price of Bitcoin. And I think until we see zero Bitcoin on exchanges, we haven't even began to see Bitcoin's true purchasing power, which is why I think 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be generational wealth for sure.
I love it. So I got to share these cards, the Bitcoin trading cards. I know you're a big fan of them. This is why you do what you do. Bitcoin news, many people you help in the Bitcoin space. This is why what you were just talking about is so important. It's the education for the average person. The globalists, all these people, they don't have Bitcoin trading cards. They're not watching, well, maybe they're watching Bitcoin news. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe some of them are at this point, but these interviews, but we're trying to get the average person in the game. I think really, I mean, you and I have talked, just over time. And I think this is what the average Bitcoiner, especially content creator, is trying to do is to educate the average person that we're in this Bitcoin bull run the next 10 years until the 99% of the supply is gone. And I think that's why this is so important, because obviously nations are coming in, these massive entities are coming in, and then it changes. So these next two questions I have for you have to do with this very topic. And it's, the worst mistake you can make is, number one, not buying Bitcoin, not getting in the game, or not working for Bitcoin, but also selling your Bitcoin. And then I want to touch on after that is, why fiat is dying and what comes next once we're on that Bitcoin standard. So I'd love for you to touch on first the mistake of not buying, but we've touched on a little bit, but more importantly, selling your Bitcoin. What are we going to do in order to bridge this gap over the next, say, call it 5, 10, 15 years before we get to this Bitcoinized world?
Yeah, I mean, people just need to understand how scarce this Bitcoin thing is. And when you understand that, you're not going to want to sell it. And you do start to appreciate scarcity. That's what I love about the trading cards. They're scarce, like Bitcoin, like time. It's a beautiful thing about them. And they also educate people, which is, again, incredibly important. The reason why people don't sell Bitcoin, because they're not educated. And I think a lot of people struggle with education about Bitcoin because it's not tangible. Bitcoin's not tangible. It's this digital thing. It's sometimes a little bit more difficult to wrap their heads around. This is why whenever I meet someone and they ask me about Bitcoin, I don't even answer their question. I just say, you know what, how about I show you how Bitcoin is? I'll download a wallet onto their phone. And before I even start fielding questions about Bitcoin, I just say, how about I just show you what it is? Because a lot of people are like, Bitcoin's complicated. And I just say, Bitcoin's money without banks. This is how it works. Is that interesting? And then they typically ask more questions. But this is why I love, again, physical demonstrations of what Bitcoin is when we're talking about education, and physical products like trading cards. Get in the hands, it's more tangible. And when people do understand that, hang on a minute, there is something real and tangible to Bitcoin, that's when they start falling down the rabbit hole. That's when they understand that, hang on a minute, this thing is something I don't sell. This is something I should never sell. I should only buy this thing. And that's what good money should be. And it's just really difficult for our society to understand that. It's because most of us alive today, have grown up in an era where we haven't had money to store value. And since 1971, the world got pushed forcibly off the gold standard without a choice, without a vote. Richard Nixon just said, we are temporarily suspending your currency's convertibility to gold. You can no longer take those little pieces of paper into the bank and get gold out. No, said, sorry, you don't get a vote in it. So again, most of us have lived in this world where it's natural to not value those pieces of paper, because I don't even wipe my ass with them. They're not worth anything. They are valueless. Okay. So that's why I think it's going to be such a mental shift to adopt Bitcoin. And when that shift really starts happening, it's going to happen all at once. And this all ties into that topic about exponential change. Things are going to happen much quicker than most people think. And I don't think even most Bitcoiners are quite prepared for some of the volatility that we're going to see in this pretty wild transition.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I would love your thoughts on this, actually. Are we in, you mentioned Richard Nixon, are we in a Bretton Woods, what is it, 4 at this point? I mean, we had Bretton Woods 1, we had Bretton Woods 2 is 1971, at least in theory. In Bretton Woods 3, again, theoretically, as many people have kind of coined it, was what happened with freezing Russians' assets, their dollars, in 2022. What do you see here? I'd love you to unpack your thoughts on kind of where we are in this timeline.
If you want the answer to that question right there, and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.